Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how I made one of my canes. Don't panic, it's not a complicated cane at all. I am using Pardo because I just love how Pardo works with canes. It's just such a nice firm clay, and when you cut into it, it gives a really nice crisp cut. You don't have to use Pardo, but that's what I'm going with today. So what I've got is a strip here, if you can just about see it, of the mica platinum Pardo Professional. So there's that, and I've also got at the other end a little log of the platinum as well, which is about a quarter of a block of clay. Here I've got half a block of lavender jade, and that's from the Pardo Polymer clay range. And then here I've got another half a block of the sapphire, which is the Pardo Polymer clay range, and I've teardropped those because that's going to be a skinner blend or a blend. Then I've got half a block of translucent aqua from the Professional art clay range, and then the yellow translucent, which is again the Professional art clay range. Then here I've got so I've got half a block, half a block, half a block, half a block. I've just got to think. Third of a block of the lilac translucent, and then a third of a block of translucent, a third of a block of translucent rolled into logs. Okay, so I'm just going to put them in their separate components so I don't get mixed up, and I have got my picture so I don't screw it up and forget what I did because I do that all the time. So the first thing, then, we're going to take these first two colours. I've already conditioned them, I've already rolled them into little teardrops, but obviously they need to be rolled through the pasta machine to make a blend. So I'm just going to roll this out. You need to roll it out thin enough that it's going to be able to pass through your pasta machine, and once that is thin enough, just pass it through and just roll it a little bit more. So pass it through your pasta machine this way, fold colour to colour, back through, colour to colour, back through until you've got your blend. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with these two. Alright, so once I've done both of my blends, I will return. I've got both my blends, but now I want to make them into a longer, thinner strip of skinner blend. So I'm just going to take the first one, and all I'm going to do is, let's go this way, fold colour to colour, like so. So you've got more of a rectangle, so you've got the transition of colours going this way now. Alright, and I'm going to take that down through the pasta machine this way onto a number 6, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. So just fold it colour to colour, so you've got a strip. Now this has been conditioned, but Pardo does like to crack a little bit. Just, you know, play with it, give it a little bit more of a massage, and it will keep getting conditioned as you work with it. It is tougher to condition, so you really do need to take your time with it, but it is just excellent for canes in my opinion. Alright, so I've got both of these. I'm going to pass both of these through on a number 6, and I will be back. Alright guys, I've got two very long strips. I've got one up here and one down here, and I've barely got any room. But what I'm going to do is take the first strip, this purplish one, which keeps breaking on me because it's quite thin. There's the end of it, and I'm just going to start to fan fold it as best as I can. So you just fold in one way, flip in, fold in another, and it's broken off. Oh well. So just do this, fan fold, fan fold, fan fold. Try and lift it a bit, it's sticking to the tile, making a pig's ear of this, guys. So continue with that fold, even though it broke off, it's fine. You can just add it to the stack when you're done. Right, let me try. This is so long, I've barely got any room. So let's carry on with this. So just continue to do your fan fold. And yes, it looks like a dog's dinner, I know. Alright, so that's that, and that came off, so I'm just going to pop that on top. This is a very rough fan fold, as you can see. Alright, so once you've done that, you just need to straighten it out a little bit so it doesn't look quite as much of a dog's dinner as it does. And I'm just going to start rounding it off. So I'm just squeezing it and rounding it off. And then you can start to give it a little roll. Squidge it on the ends a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly round at this point because it is going to get played with again, but just so you've got a roughish circle like that, round cane. Okay, so that's that one. But then what I'm going to do with this one, once I've stopped playing with it, any air bubbles like this, you can just literally put your blade through, slice through it, and then just press the clay back down. Okay, so once you've got a roundish log like this, then get that strip of platinum that I told you about at the beginning. Bring that over. And I find it's always good to get all your cane components ready, rather than doing each individual thing as you go along. So I've got my strip ready to go, for example. Oops. What the heck? Use the right side of the blade, Deb. Just tidying these edges. That's another thing with Pardo. The edges do crack. It doesn't mean it's not conditioned. You're never going to get rid of those crackly edges on Pardo, no matter how much you condition it. It's just the way it is. So don't panic. So wrap that log in your platinum, or whichever colour it is that you're using. You don't have to use the same colours as me. The other one that I did of this, I actually threw some orange into it, which is very unlike me because I don't really like orange. But I decided not to put orange in this one because I still don't like orange. Nice cane, but I'm just not a fan of orange, unless it goes with turquoise or something like that. Orange and turquoise always look good together, I think. But I decided not to go with orange on this one. But you can if you want to. Alright, so I've got my log wrapped now. I'm just going to give it a little roll. Just make sure it's a bit tidier. And then what you need to do is get something that you can poke into it. And I'm going to poke into the lighter side. So I'm going to poke into it this way. I just need to find something to poke it with. I'm just going to use this. So you're pushing down into the lighter side of that log, not this side, this side. So I'm just going to do that. Push it down. Again, don't worry if the Pardo splits. It does that. You can just massage it again. So I've quite literally just done a little divot in there like so. And now all I'm going to do is bring it back up, and I'm going to bring it back up into a point. Like so. And at this point I'm going to reduce it just a little bit, not a great deal, but that's all I've done is I've brought it back up into a point here. I just want to make it a little bit more triangular, so I'm just going to play with this a little bit. You just keep doing that until you're happy with your little triangle. I'm just going to cut away the edges where it's got a little bit untidy, and you're left with that, and it's as simple as that, guys. Alright, so that's the first component done. Okay, so that's the first component done. Now we've got to get back to this other strip that I made, which I'm scared is going to break on me because it's so thin and long. So bear with me, guys, bear with. But same this time, I nearly said same thing again, it's not the same thing again. This time we're just going to take the lighter end of this very long thin strip and we're just going to roll it up. Simple as that. Simple little bullseye cane with the lighter colour in the middle. I like to roll and squeeze, roll and squeeze, roll and squeeze. Excuse me. Let's bring this over a little bit. As you can see, it's really long. And that just broke again. Oops. Oops and oops. If it breaks, don't panic, just slap it on there. Don't worry about it too much. Good grief, I'm making a right dog's dinner of this, aren't I? For as firm as Pardo is and how easy it breaks, it's actually quite sticky when you've been playing with it for a little bit. Not soft and squidgy like Cernit, but it does stick to things quite easily. So I'm just continuing to roll this log up all the way down. Like so. So now we've got this log with the lighter colour in the middle. Now this time I want to reduce this a little bit, and again it's being formed into another triangle, but I'm just going to warm it up a little bit first. Just stretch it out a little bit. You can see the edge on that side's a bit messed up, so I'm just going to cut that away. So you've got this plug now, but all we're going to do is take it and make it the same length as this. So I'm just again going to start pinching at the top and form it into a triangle. And I like to just keep it on the tile, and you kind of use that to help press down and keep turning it until you've got a little triangle. Just going to have reduced it a bit much, but that's okay. I've got to take some of the ends off anyway. So when you've got your little triangle, I'm just going to cut these ends off. Again, just a simple triangle, guys, nothing major. And it's a little bit longer than this, so I'm just going to line them up and cut away the excess. Keep these lovely bits for a chippy choppy. Okay, so that's that bit done then, and all I'm going to do with that is attach it to the other one, point to point like this. As simple as that, really. So now we've got two triangular canes side by side, like so. Okay, right then we're going to take the what was this one called? Lilac transparent, lilac translucent, yeah. And again, this is, I've already rolled it into a log, but I'm just going to roll it a little bit more, just to warm that clay back up a bit, because that's another thing with Pardo. Once you leave it to sit for a while, you do really need to warm it back up again. Okay, so I've just rolled it into a little log, and then I'm going to take one of the logs of the translucent, and that's going to be rolled into a thinner log, like so. So again, I'm warming that clay back up. I'm probably not going to need all of this. In fact, I know I'm not going to need all of this, but I always like to roll extra just in case. And it's no biggie because it is just going to be a log. So just roll that out a bit thinner, but I'm going to actually cut it in half, but not with that blade because it's not a rigid blade. I need a rigid blade. If I can find one. I guess I can't. There we go. I'm just going to cut this in half. Ish. Just so it's this shape. Okay. And then I'm going to take my other log and I'm going to just push another indentation in there to accommodate this. So it needs to be fairly wide. Like so. It needs a bit more. And I'm just kind of rocking it back and forth, and then you're just going to pop that in there like so. So it looks like a hot dog. A purple and white hot dog. I'm just going to remove the excess trans. Just give it a push. And guess what? I'm going to form it into another triangle. So you just kind of work with it again. Start pushing it up at the sides. You can see it breaking there a little bit. Just give that a little bit of love because it's broken. And just keep doing that until you've got a nice point. Like so. So you've actually got a ridge of translucent running across the top like this. Or whichever colour it is that you decide to use. This is the part on my last cane where I used orange. And I used like an ecru colour for the centre bit, but I'm going with this today. So if you did want to do it with the orange, let me just quickly show you actually. That's what it... No, I'm not going to show... Yeah, it doesn't matter if I show you. Derp. See, I've got the orange and the ecru. This bit was the same, but this bit here, the log was orange and the centre bit is ecru. That's the only difference. So if you wanted to go with those colours, you could. Okay, right. How pointy is this guy? I think he's quite pointy. Again, just tidy the edges. So you're left with something that looks like this. Another triangle. Okay, now this is going to go on the other side. I'm just going to point this off a little bit more though. Just a fraction. So this is going to go on the other side of the first cane that we did. So now you've got 3 triangles, all slightly different, but that's as easy as it is. Now this bit, we're going to take each side of the end canes and we're going to start pulling upwards to thin it out. This can be a little bit tricky, but just take your time. Just pull it up, and then I want to start to curve it inwards a little bit so it's going in this way. See, canes are like jigsaw puzzles. Just piece things together and play around, manipulate the clay. And for me, that's all I do. And I always end up with a surprise because I don't have an actual, you know, vision in mind of what it's going to be. I just play around and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So I've done that on that side so you can see it's been curved over and thinned out at the top. Might need to play with that a little bit more, but we'll see. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, just start to pinch that at the top so it's getting thinner at the top and just gently pulling it up. Like so. Okay, just make sure it's stuck down good on this side as well. But I'm just going to keep going with this one a little bit longer. And we need to start curving both of these inwards, making sure it's still stuck on the other side. So it's a little fiddly, but it's not too bad. Okay, so you've ended up with something like this now. You've got this big groove in the middle. And then all I'm going to do is get my other piece of translucent that we had at the beginning, and I'm thinking I might need a little bit more, guys, so I'm just going to use what was left over from that other one, and I'm just going to re-roll this into another log. So that was kind of handy. Had too much for the other part, but I can use it in this part. So I'm just going to go off camera and recondition this because I've lumped some more translucent with it. I'm just going to recondition this a bit more and I'll be back. I've got this rolled out into a log now, and all I'm going to do is place it in between those two pieces that are curved up, slap bang in the middle. And all I'm going to do now is gently push it all together so those curves are touching that translucent log, like so. And just keep playing with it to make sure all components are stuck together. Okay, that's that. Now I'm just going to make sure everything is nicely stuck together. Stretch it out a little bit now. So you're going to end up with something that looks like this. Just needs playing with a little bit. Okay. I'm just rounding the edges off a little bit. I'm just trying to get everything all nice and cohesive and smooth together, stuck together. And then of course I'm just going to take off those nasty edges. I feel like I am getting better when it comes to how much waste there is on my canes. So there's that. So that's what you should end up with, okay? Alright, so one last little thing then, and that's to get that piece of platinum that I told you about. And I'm trying to work out where I put it on my other cane. Let me just try and figure this out. Okay, yeah, it is literally going to go straight on top of that. Alright, so I'm just going to give this a roll out. I'm so glad I took pictures, guys, because like I say, I don't necessarily have a specific pattern in mind. I just kind of play around. And of course, oftentimes I forget what I did. So I have taken pictures and I just keep referring back because I want to show you the same cane that I did. I showed it in my group. So obviously I want it to be similar to what I showed it. I know it's different colours, but it's the same cane. I've done it exactly the same way. Alright, so I'm just rolling this out. I don't want a massive thick log at this point, so I'm just rolling this out. So it's a little bit thinner. I'm going to pop that on there like so. And cut away the excess. Alright, and that's the cane. Obviously it needs reducing, but that's what you should get. But this obviously needs reducing now, so I'm going to take this down to 6 inches. So just gently turn and press as you go along into a nice triangular shape. And I always like to kind of tug at the edges a little bit as well, so that it kind of catches up with the rest of it. And I've found that you get less wastage when you do that, rather than just kind of doing this and then before you know it this bit's bulging out and it's all over the place. So I do tend to do that. I just gently tug at those sides as I go. Alright, so I'm not going to do all that on camera. This is going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to take it down to 6 inches. And when I've done that, I will be back. Derp, derp, derp. Don't take it down to 6 inches at this point. I missed a step, guys. I'm so sorry. So ignore that bit. Yeah. Oops. I'm actually going to cut it in half and then take it down to 6 inches. Oh dear. What am I like? Alright, so take it, reduce it a little bit, but not that much. And then put the piece together. Last time I did it, I did the blue and yellow sections, so they were touching each other. But you could do it this way if you wanted to, but then you're going to get a slightly different look. But I'll stick with what I did originally. Oh my gosh, I actually cut it equally. Yay me. Alright, sorry guys. So yeah, reduce it just a little bit and then cut it in half and then put it together like this. Now you can reduce it 6 inches. And I'm just going to follow this line of translucent across the top as the point again. So just reform it again into a triangle and reduce it down to 6 inches. Oh dear. It would have been a nice cane even if you hadn't have done this, but you know. Oops. My brain. Alright, so I'm just going to go and do the rest of this off camera, but I'm just retriangulating it. Going this way, and I'm going to take it down to 6 inches. I took it down to 6 inches and cut into 6 equal parts. I say equal because I'm not very good at making equal pieces. But obviously that's what it looks like. And I'm just going to piece them all together. And that's it. Apart from putting a little centre in, let's just put a little bit of that platinum in the centre. So I'm making sure they're lined up, both sides. Like so. It's such a pretty cane. I'm so glad I didn't use orange in this one. I think it actually looks slightly different, but I think it's because I used platinum and translucent together. So it's not... not sure. Actually, I think I have done it differently, guys. When I cut and put the two pieces together, I think I did it the other way last time. I don't know. Anyway, you can just follow the same steps. Oh my gosh, my brain. And then obviously when you first cut it in half and put it back together, you can decide which way you want it to be, but I think that's what I did differently. So sorry guys in the group, as usual, I didn't do it exactly the same. Same exact steps other than which way I put them together. Yeah, because I had this would have been the orange and that was on the outside, so I did join them the other way round, but I think I'm actually preferring this one, to be honest, so that's good. Oh dear. I hope this made sense, guys. This is why I don't really like doing canes, because I do get a little bit confuddled at times. actually, most days. But when it comes to things like this, my brain isn't that scientific, so I can't necessarily figure out what it's going to turn out like if I do it one way or another. So if you want to keep it as I showed you in my group, when you've pieced everything together, reduced it a little bit, cut it in half, and then put those two pieces together, you're either going to put them this way or this way, you know, so you're going to get a different look. And I did it the opposite way to this one with the orange, but I actually prefer this cane, to be honest, I think. Anyway, either way, it's beautiful. So there it is, just all nicely pieced together. I'm trying my hardest to get it lined up as best as I can. Okay, so that's the cane, guys. I think it's just so pretty. Obviously this needs reducing, so start from the middle. This is how I always do mine. Start from the middle and start forming a little bit of a waist in the centre of that cane. And then gradually start to pull at the edges a little bit, because you want it all to catch up with itself, otherwise you're going to get into a bit of a pickle. So just keep gently doing that, turning as you go, pushing in the middle, pulling at the edges, like so. And every now and then I just like to flatten those edges a bit, because I don't want it to concave too much, or dip in too much. So you can also just, you know, lay it on your tile and flatten it a little bit and then carry on reducing. So I'm going to keep on doing that until I've got it down to the size I want it to be, and I will return. So I reduced it down and that's what it looks like. I love it. Obviously I've got the dark purple on the edges, and like I said before, the way I did it the other time was the dark purple was put together rather than the platinum and translucent, so you will end up with that one if you did it the other way. Same cane, just stacked differently. I feel quite bad about that, but unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that now. But this is how it came out, and it's still really pretty. Alright, so I've reduced it, and I'm just going to show you one pendant. I'm not going to drag this tutorial out and make tons of things, but I'm just going to take this down a little bit more. So I'm just rolling it and stretching it to the size I want it to be, and I think we're good with that. And I'm just going to take off a little bit of that, so that's one size, and then I'm going to take this again and reduce it a little bit more. To about that size. So that's size number 2. So I'm just gradually going down in size, and then I'm going to take the third piece and just reduce that even more. And you can go as small as you want with this. Obviously you start to lose a little bit of the pattern the smaller you go with it, but I am taking this bit down quite small. Alright, so 3 different sizes. I'm just going to take this down just a little bit more. Okay, so 3 different sizes like so. So that's what I'm going to be working with. I've still got all of this left. There's still a big chunk left. And what am I going to do? Okay, I think I'm just going to go with a circle cutter for this pendant. Or shall I go with a heart? I don't know now, guys. Why do I always struggle to know which cutter I'm going to use? Sometimes I wish somebody was here with me to tell me. I think I'm just going to go with a large circle. And I'm just gently going to make an impression of that. I'm not cutting through, I'm just making an impression. So I've got a rough guideline of where I want to put my cane slices. Now, in all of my other canes, what I normally do is take a slice and then take slices from the slice, so you get more of a fragmented look. I'm not going to do that with this one, because otherwise they end up looking all the same. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to start with the largest log first, and I'm just going to take my needle tool and I'm just going to push some little dents in all the way round like so, just to give the flower a frilly edge, because I don't like just putting round slices. They end up getting distorted anyway. Well, they do when I do it. So I'm just putting a few little frilly edges around that, and then I'm just going to take as thin a slice as I can possibly get, very thin, stretch it out a little bit and pop it on my clay. And I'm going to try and follow that circle round a little bit, but I'm not filling the whole piece. Another little slice, give it a little reshape. And that is another beautiful thing about Pardo, it really keeps its shape well. You only have to tease it a little bit once you've sliced it, I found. Now I am slightly overlapping these, but I'm kind of following that outline of the cutter this way. I think I'll get one more of the bigger slices and then move on to the smaller. Okay, and that's all I'm doing, so I'm roughly following that. I say roughly because I didn't even get close to it, but okay. Alright, so, and then just pop that there like that. Then I'm going to get the next size, I'm going to do the same thing, just push some little indents in there, just to give the flower a little frilly edge, like so. Same thing, thinnish slice, and I've always found it keeps the shape nicer if you cut one way and then turn the cane a little bit that way, so you get some rounder cuts rather. Alright, so that's the next one, and I'm just going to pop that there, and I'm just literally following this around. Like so, and I am overlapping them slightly, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put some on top as well, because I want it to look more like a cluster of flowers, if that makes sense. So it's not just a line going round. So you can just play around with it, it's your design, how you want to do it. I think I'm going to go with the smaller one this time. Wait, what did I do with it? Oh, that was the smaller one, derp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down a little bit more because I want even smaller. Oh dear. So I didn't use the middle-sized one. Oh well. But I am going to reduce this even more because I want even smaller flowers, so I can just keep building up on what I've already got. So this needs refrilling. Like so. Just get rid of that edge. And then just some little tiny ones here and there. Same thing, I'm actually gonna pop them in some little gaps that I've left, and I'm just kind of stacking them up like so, and I'm just going to take some of these teeny tiny ones and just pop it there. Just kind of following it around, and they don't even all have to touch. Like you see, I've spaced these out a little bit, like so, and you could take it even smaller if you wanted to. I think I might even take this smaller, guys. Just a little bit of it, not the whole cane. So just play around. I mean, you could even turn this into a square if you wanted. Just reshape it by starting to press down into a square. Just keep turning it until it's square. I personally don't like the square canes unless I'm doing something like a dish, and then you obviously piece all the squares together. But that's another thing I'm not very good at. I'm not very good at lining up the square, so I kind of avoid it if I can. I'd rather do the round ones. So I'm just going to add some of the little tiny ones as well, here and there, and you can see I'm kind of building it up. It's not just a flat line going round, because I want it to look more clustered and more like a bouquet. Let's put another one there, and a couple more of these, and I think that's good. These are really tiny now, but they're still pretty. And I'm just using them more as little fillers. Oops. Let me think. Where do I want this one to go? There and there. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do. So there's that, and obviously it needs to be burnished. So I'm just going to start with my fingers to start with, and just go in circular motions. I don't want to distort those flowers too much. Just firmly press down until you start to feel them kind of blending together and it feels a little smoother. Okay, and then when I've done that, that's when I'm going to get my soap steel burnish thing. This is listed in my Amazon storefront, just in case you need to get one. And I'm just going to give it a really good burnish all over. I periodically like to lift my paper, because sometimes if you burnish too hard it can cause the clay to really stick. So I just like to lift it once in a while, just to make sure the clay doesn't stick to the paper and then it's a pain to peel off. I feel with my fingers if there's any lumpy areas, like there's one just here, still a little raised. Just gonna smooth that out. And check it, give it a feel. Make sure the seams are all nicely blended. There's still a couple of little ones that need pushing down. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to get my cutter. I'm going to place it where I think it looks good. It's okay to leave some of that white on the edges showing if you want to. And I think we're good there, and I'm just going to cut through. Alright, how pretty is that, guys? And I am going to do a little donut hole in the middle, I think. I seriously need to clear away some stuff and get a bit more organised. Things have got a bit out of control again. I think I might actually go with this heart. I think that looks really pretty as the centre. So if I do it there, then it's going to hang like that, so I don't want to do it. Hang on, let me just take this off and see what I'm doing. Okay, that's better. So I want that there, like so. Yeah. Alright, so that's that. Just going to cut that out, and that's the pendant. So I'm going to go and bake this. Oops. I'm also going to tidy it up because it didn't cut that well. Probably because it's on paper, but I really wanted to keep the back of this smooth because I'm just going to sand and buff this one. No resin or anything. Okay. Usual little clean with some isopropyl alcohol just to get any smudges off it. Make sure it's nice and clean. Got a little bit there. I'm not going to worry too much about the edges, they are being sanded. So alright guys, so there's the cane, there's the pendant. I'm going to go and bake this and I'll be back. Alright guys, I finished this piece. I sanded and buffed through the grits all the way to 3000. I will leave a link in the description for my tutorial on how I finished my pieces. So I sanded and buffed it. Used a little bit of Renaissance wax after I sanded it and then buffed it all over. I've not completely finished this, but I thought white cord would look nice. I've added a nice little blue bead. I got a whole load of these glass beads from Amazon. I'll list these in my Amazon storefront. But that's the piece, and that's from today's cane. Okay, now I'm a stress head. You might have worked that one out already, but the cane I was trying to do was this one, as I already said previously, and I showed this cane in my group. Now I've figured out what I did different. It wasn't where I joined the two pieces together before I reduced. And obviously it's different colours, but that's neither here nor there. You can choose whichever colours you want to. So just imagine you've got all your components together, like I showed you. I just feel like I need to explain for those in the group that were expecting this and got this. Imagine you've put all your components together as I showed you before you've reduced it to the 6 inches. So you've got them together, you've cut it in half, and then you've put the two pieces back together, which is what I did for this, and I did put them together the right way. If you'd have put them together another way, it would have come out different again, and that is the beauty of canes. You know, it depends which way you put them together. But what I did differently wasn't that I put them together in a different way, it's that I made the triangle point from this bit, the translucent and platinum. That's where I made the point. On this one, I made the point on the dark purple part, so it would have been this part here is where I would have formed the triangle point, because then that would have made this bit the centre. So if you're wanting to go for this look compared to this look, then just triangle at the dark purple area. I hope that makes sense. But that's same components of a cane, just the triangle was formed at a different point. So it's pretty cool how you can get different looks, and obviously I didn't use orange in this one, and I used, you know, quite a bit more translucent, but play around with colours. I do find it useful to use a lighter colour to give you a little bit of contrast. You don't want all dark and all light, so bear that in mind when you're picking your colours. Anyway, I've rambled on for long enough, but I just felt like I needed to explain that. So it's where I formed the triangle point that gives you this look as opposed to this look, but they are both pretty nice. So there's that, and there's that, and I'll just show you a couple of pieces that I did from the orange cane. Pretty much the same thing, I just laid them down, but on this one I actually cut little slices and I didn't burnish them flat, I left them raised. So you've got some little raised pieces on there, which looks kind of cool. But you can see how different it looks, even though it's the same components of a cane. So there's that one and that one, and then I just did a very simple one slice on a piece of white Primo. cord and bead, and that's just a very simple one. Alright guys, I know there was a few brain farts in that. I hope you managed to figure out what the heck I was doing. But there you go. 2 canes using same components. Just triangle point started at different points. Alright, I'm leaving you now. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you later.